My name is Jorge Alfano, and this is an invocation to come into this dimension. Um, uh, Beautiful Vanessa asked me to talk about and to comment about Andean spirituality. But before that, I would like to tell you briefly who I am and where I come from, just to validate what I'm going to be talking about. So, I come from Buenos Aires, Argentina, where I grew up, and since very young, I knew I gonna be a musician. It was decided on the other side of things, and then different situations pushed me into understanding a little bit what's going on in this reality from my own perspective, of course. I lost my father when I was 13, and that was a major awakening when I saw his spirits, his soul, leaving the body. I say, oh, okay, there is something else going on here, and I better pay attention. And so uh, I try to convince my family that I didn't want to be a mechanic or an engineer as they want me to be, or a priest, or a military, because at that time Argentina was taken by the militaries. So my mother, uh, God bless her soul, beautiful being, uh, didn't know what to do with me. So I helped her. I became a musician and renounced to all the education that they were proposing. All my uncles are engineers, and and the other half are musicians. My mother was a piano player and things like that. So I grew up within a very controversial situation. Argentina being taken by the Nazis again. I mean, it was always taken by the Nazis, still today. So I say, okay, how are I gonna do this? So I started researching. I knew that there was a different reality, more subtle, and so I became a musician. By 14, I took my first tour, and by 15, parallel to that, to becoming a studio recording musician, I wanted to be a good professional, and I play in many, many, many records and situations. And at that time, there was a lot of work for musicians because there were no AI or nothing like synthesizers or anything like that. Everything was played live. So that took me to join, parallel to my musical career. I joined different spiritual organizations, yoga, Gurdjieff, Hermetism, and many others that are, Buddhism, Zen. But I studied with them, and I did all the practices. By now I'm 18, and I say, but it's got to be something else happening, because I can feel it, but I cannot remember from other times what it is. I felt comfortable with Gurdjieff and yoga, Shivananda for 45 years, uh, everything, right? But there was something missing. How can I make uh, music that is beneficial to people? But how can I really do it? So all of these took me to start investigating, and of course by now I was famous in Argentina as a rock musician. I play in a band that got really famous. So I used all the money to pay for my investigations and for my joining different groups and getting music from all over the world. And so I became an ethnomusicologist. Um, Vanessa can tell you my house is a museum of more than 400 instruments from around the world. But the core of that before I became a professor on the university, it was to know all the spiritual connotations of indigenous music, and that is ethnomusicology. So I got full into that, and I started switching my profession from being a musician and to help my family and making money that way into more of a metaphysical orientation. So I became a minister of metaphysical science with a degree on Ericksonian hypnotherapy. I was very interested in trance and why music and frequency, and this is 50 years ago, why music and and rhythm creates such a trance for us. Why our body, when it listens to our favorite songs, is asking for it. Is the body is asking you to listen to Let It Be or listening to whatever song you love, and get emotional and get so all your cells start remembering that frequency. And so what I did all of that, and at the same time, till today, I'm a professional musician. But I started being a composer, and so at 21, I released my first record called Inner Work. Inner Work. In Spanish is Trabajo Interno. And it was released in Argentina at the time of the militaries. And because I didn't even play my main instrument, which is the bass, I only played keyboards. And with the frequencies that I learned from Sufism, with the Gurdjieff school, and later on, Sufism. So the investigation started growing and growing, and when I got to New York, when I was 21, I recorded that record. It was released in Argentina, and then became like a cult, because at that time, 50 years ago, nobody knew about frequencies. I mean, we knew the esoteric schools, they all know about frequencies, but it wasn't popular like now. There is applications and everybody talks about frequency like they know. Anyway, that landed me into Polarity School with master, great musician, super human being, John Bilou. And we created the tuning forks. He taught us how to use them. Everything comes from that source, from creation, but through that master, John Bilou. So I say, okay, I got music from around the world, thanks to Swami Vishnu Devananda, who was one of my teachers. He said, go and fish people, but for that you had to learn every music from the sacred traditions. So that was my second album, Sacred Sounds. Music from around the world, played in the original instruments that I learned from India, Japan, everywhere. And we got to, okay, so all of this is happening around the world. I become a producer for many different companies, a relaxation company, Lyricord, Sony Music. Everybody wanted to get a piece of what these frequencies are, and they call it New Age music. Big mistake. And so this is world music from the indigenous cultures that I rescue for the purpose that I was set to do, So that my mission in this timeline is to become a sacred musician, or whatever you want to call it, I don't know. That expanded into healing, into connecting with musicians that were doing this for a long time, like Stephen Halpern, Brian Eno, many of them that were my teachers, my pioneers that I'm listening to. But I also like John Coltrane and Miles Davis and everybody else, And so music is just one big thing. It's not separated. So how I explain all of this is because I look at South America and I say, and what's going on in my own part of the woods, And so I started researching, and I found. And so for my ethnomusicology part of life, I went and started connecting with this amazing brotherhood of Quechua nation, uh, and specifically with Anton Ponce de Leon, one of the great teachers of this brotherhood, who was working in silence, not fame, no, he rejected all of that because that's more confusing for our work. So I landed in Cusco, and for 40 years I've been working and being part of this brotherhood. And I'm telling you all of this because this sustained all my research in frequencies and instruments that are according to the elders and our ñaupas, our amautas, our teachers from this tradition. That's why I started this meeting with a piece of music, an invocation to bring us in and to allow me to communicate. So I became what is called a chasqui, a messenger of the Brotherhood, and I started bringing people from the United States to Machu Picchu and to all our sacred places. And we will take people and prepare them and make them remember and teach them the ways of the Quechua and all the ways of this ancient brotherhood connected with major schools from out of planet teachings, universal. And so then when I have all of these, I created many CDs, many pieces of music, inspired when I was with the Brotherhood in and out, traveling from New York to Peru, and started recording. And all those CDs have my collections of bones, ceramics, textiles, and other many different things that are part of the teachings. So I put that in 4 CDs, and the CDs were to sustain the Brotherhood. So we will print the CDs in the United States for Liverpool, for the Smithsonian, for they were very interested in all of this work related with the spirituality of the Andes. And that's why we are going to talk about it. It took me this long to explain all of that. But anyway, so the Andean mountains were created at the same time that Lemuria sunk in the Pacific for many different factors. So the Murians, because the continent was called Mu, when it sunk, it pushed a lot of land and created even more of the Andean and Himalayan chain of mountains. That's why Lake Titicaca used to be a salt lake. That was water from the ocean. At that time, many thousands of years in the back. So the Lemurians came and founded Machu Picchu at that time, and all the change, more than thousands of temples that we visit in expeditions that we do every year when we can get to the places. This year we are going to El Paititi, where most of the artifacts of the Brotherhood, of the Lemurian part of the Brotherhood, are stored. Solar discs and many things like that produce the right frequencies to open different portals, because that's how it works. So beautiful Vanessa asked me to comment on the work of other people coming into the Andes, and learning from great teachers like the Queros, like the Huancaquiles. There's many groups. The way of working with frequencies, with the electric body, the body electric, the popco, as the way we call the aura, popco, and start working with that. Quechuas are very reserved, very humble they keep their ways for thousands of years. And so this group Quero, which is in the altitudes of Cusco. Cusco means Costco, which is the belly button of the world, right? So then we have people coming from different directions, from Europe, from the United States, many anthropologists, one of them being Mr. Alberto Bioldo, a great teacher, an amazing research that he did. And then he started becoming very popular and taking people to the Keros. And I just want to make something very clear. This is not a criticism. On the contrary, I respect all of them very much. But the word, let's start from here. The word shamanism doesn't exist in Quechua. Shamanism, or to be a shaman, it doesn't exist. The word shaman comes from Siberia, in Russia. A shaman, we call them either Paco or curandero, or different ways, but never shaman. That started getting confused with Carlos Castaneda, creating those books about the Yaqui teachings in Baja California, in the north of Mexico. In Don Juan, we don't know if it really exists or not. The books are fantastic, and you get a sense that there was something behind that, like the movie Altered States with William Hurt. There is something there, but it's not, we don't know if it's real or not. Well, the Queros are real, and they are amazing healers, and there's many different levels of initiation, but there is two currents of knowledge. One is the Alto Mesayoc and the Pampa Mesayoc. Alto Mesayoc works with the frequencies and the densities and dimensions of the mountains, the Apus, and Pampa Mesayoc works with the frequencies and deities of the flatlands. So very different one from another, and they've been let's say inheritors of the Inca masters, and even before the Inca were put together, long before the Inca Empire and the visit of the Spaniards as we know it. So Alberto started visiting the Queros and learned how to start working with energy, and created few books. I have them all. I read them. Island of the Sun, and I can't remember all the titles, but he did an amazing job, really. Well, then what happens is that I'm going to tell you something basic for the healing part of spirituality of the Andean people, which is, it's just like a hand. It's just a little branch of a major spiritual knowledge. So, which is universal and is galactic. It's not just from Earth, but it's so engraved in the four elements, in the ether and everything else, that is, when you go to Peru and start working for real, you remember who you are and why you are here for. It's not just the body, the brains and the heart. There's much more than that, a lot more than that. So you cannot separate that into parts. There is oneness and there is integrity in the teachings. You cannot take it apart. So this is the big problem that many of them do. First of all, the original teachings, they are to work humbly in silence, not to become a superstar of the healing techniques and all of this that is ancient. This has been happening from the beginning of our existence here, since they put the pineal gland on our brain. We become conscious and we become who we really are till you start remembering, because we have amnesia, we have spiritual amnesia. So we had to get over that. Alberto took all those teachings and put them in the book and started creating the Four Winds Foundation, which is great, but there is major mistakes that are difficult to get over. First of all, when you go and visit a new community in the Andes, you cannot bring tobacco, whiskey, and all of these, because that's what the Spaniards did and converted, many of them into addicts. And so taking the Queros out of their environment and taking the teachings out of their environment and subtract it as a vacuum and put it in the rest of the world, no, you're gonna lose parts of who you are. Because opening your field, it's very difficult then to close it. And that is what the Queros do. And so you cannot be an Alto Masayoc or Pampa Masayoc or even Munaiki teachings out of that environment. They grew up there. It's the same thing with ayahuasca, San Pedro. The archetypes that those things generate are part of that culture. So trying to bring that outside, very difficult, very confusing. Some benefits could happen. I'm not going to tell you no, but for the spiritual part of the Andes, for the real, I would say real because of lack of another word, but the real spirituality, which is based on higher principles than just healing, it's very difficult. It's not according to the protocols and the precepts of Andean spirituality, which is Andes means anti. Anti in Quechua means mountain. The Spaniards couldn't remember the word anti, so they call it Andes. They simplify everything. So the mountains carry ancestral teachings that belong to them, not to us white men coming from Europe. It's a different frequency. We can learn, we can adapt, we can share, we can be one with it. But, like mechanics, right? Like if you specialize on Mercedes-Benz, it's very difficult maybe to understand a Tesla car or something like that. So let the specialist be who they are. Don't try to be them, because you are diminishing the teachings and the knowledge. You are distorting the knowledge. And that, I say with all the respect for all the teachers and people that are trying, because I know that they all have good intentions, but I've been at it for 50 years. I still consider myself a student and just a brother of my Quechua brothers and Peruvian people. I am never assume any position of I'm gonna teach you something. I'm not gonna teach you anything. I learned something from them, which is healing only happens with your consciousness allows it. No human, no entity, no anything, plant or anything will heal you if your consciousness, through your soul, that consciousness allows it, and then healing happens. Because when it's time to go, you have to go back. So the souls know this, the alma knows this. And so there is nobody, only your consciousness allowing the healing. There is nothing else. The frequencies get to the cells, and this is Rife, Raymond Rife and Nikola Tesla. The cells get to be awakened by the mitochondria only when the consciousness is directed with the right frequency. And so if the consciousness say, no, it's your time is to go, there's nothing that you can do. There's no healer in the universe that is going to take. If the healer connects with that consciousness, the consciousness may say, okay, I make a deal with you. I give you more time, and so you can develop more of your soul and your experience on earth. But the elements respond to the consciousness. And so be careful out there, because now it's very fashionable to talk about frequencies and to talk about a lot of stuff that people put out with good intentions, but lacking the I would say the knowledge. And knowledge is it's action. It's not believing in something. To know is not to believe. You believe in books and things, but knowledge comes from experience, proven. If I use this frequency, this happens. Okay, so there's a lot of teachers that will pass something unique, amazing, and nothing. You are amazing. Your system is amazing, and you are the source. You are God on earth. You represent the creation of everything on earth. When you become conscious of that, life changes, because now you have a mission, and the mission is to bring beauty into the world, to your friends, to your family. Give them beauty through the biggest power that we have, which is love. It sounds hippish and corny, but go and talk to the Quechua and they will tell you this. To earth we came to be happy, serving. So thank you very much. If you like to know more about this, this is not a commercial. All my proceeds goes to the Brotherhood. We raise 35 kids that we rescue from the streets. We don't do it anymore because it's a whole political thing, but we use the money of the CDs and things like that to help continue with the work. So many years ago, I had this book out, Jorge Alfano. You can find it for free in PDF forms. This book comes with a CD, because half of the book is printed and the other half is all the rescue instruments that I rescue of the rituals. They're all rituals and techniques of how to work with the poco. It's in Spanish. You can put it through a translator, something like that. It's also a CD, which is a CD-ROM. It's an audiobook. Okay, you can find it in all the platforms somewhere. You can download it in your computer, and you have everything but the images, all the pictures, and that is not there. But it's 4 hours of teachings. Then there is a Italian version that comes also with a CD in the back, and you can find it in ebooks on Apple. You can download it. That one has all the pictures with the exercises, the music, everything. You can put it in your computer. And I'm gonna leave you with a little piece of music so we can close this session, and we can close this encounter in peace and without criticism. Tupanashis Kama, till we'll see you again. Bye-bye.